Performance Podcast.
Welcome back to the Mindbender Mental Performance Podcast, the only podcast that former Licey baseball great Enrique Byroneses makes players fuerta en la cabeza. Yes, I still got that Wade Boggs upper lip sweater, that dirty dirt squirrel and all. El lugar es aquí, el momento es ahora. Wherever you are, the place is here, and the time is now. This pod is all about showing up, being present, knocking down mental and oftentimes emotional barriers that get in the way of consistent, confident performance outcomes. Today, we're breaking down part 5 from the book Coaching the Mental Game by the great Harvey Dorfman on the Mount Rushmore of mental performance coaching in the big leagues. We're hitting on leadership and coaching styles. This is part 5. If you don't know, now you know. There's 4 other ones on his great pivotal book, Coaching the Mental Game. Dorfman, he's not here to coddle or hand out 8th place rings for the brown bracket. No, this guy's all about the raw truth. Your leadership style is only as good as the response it gets. If they're not following, you ain't leading, period. So he goes into 2 cases. And I'm telling you, if you're a coach, these stories might feel like a real smack in the face because they're real. First case, a Dominican kid, and we'll call him T.O. Charlie. On the Oakland A's, all the talent in the world, but carrying a mountain of shit on his back. We all know this dude. Coaches slapped him around with a bad attitude label, said he wasn't hustling. But Dorfman, he saw right through that shit. He knew the kid's issues went way beyond the field. Strict discipline, dropping the hammer on this kid didn't work. He didn't need the hammer. He needed someone who could meet him on his terms. Somebody who could be curious, not judgmental. So Dorfman dialed it back, talked to him like a human being, gave him what he needed instead of what was standard. Over time, the kid got his head straight. Years later, Dorfman recalls seeing him at Yankee Stadium, and the first words out of T.O. Charlie's mouth were, "Harvey, I've changed." Now, that's the impact of a coach who gets that it's not about your own style. It's about getting the result. Sometimes you have to get out of your own way to make space for the player's growth. The second guy, total opposite. This dude had ego for days, excuses for everything, and thought the world revolved around his fucking stats, right? Trying to be the best player on the team instead of the best player for the team. Dorfman tried going easy on him, but that shit didn't fly with the kid. He switched gears. He took full throttle, brings in other coaches right in front of the kid and lays out every selfish, stupid behavior the kid had been pulling. The kid ends up in tears. That reality check, that hard reality check, that's what it took to finally get through to him, to move the meter for him. Sometimes it's awful tasting medicine, but the patient needs it. Dorfman's point is you don't get to pick one style and call it a day. If you're not adapting to the players, you're just showing off. To lead is to serve. And sometimes that means putting your own ego on the shelf and giving the player exactly what they need, even if it's not what you want to give. So remember to look in the fucking mirror. Dorfman talks a lot about something that too many coaches shy away from, and that's self-awareness. You think you're leading these guys, but if you haven't checked in with yourself, you're coasting on autopilot. The great Vince Lombardi said you can't improve on something you don't understand, and if you're not running from that, guess what? You're just fooling yourself. Look in the fucking mirror, be brutally honest, and ask yourself, who am I as a leader? And more importantly, who do I need to be for these guys right now? Coaching isn't just barking orders. It's about understanding what you bring to the table and what you don't. Let's be real. Some of us don't want to see our own faults, let alone fix them. But if you're serious about this game, you better know who you are, what you bring, and where you fall short. You don't get to skip this step. We can't manage what we don't measure. Leadership isn't about being liked. Dorfman doesn't really have any time for the buddy-buddy approach. Leadership isn't just about being everybody's pal. It's about respect, discipline, standards, a system, and putting your players' growth above your need to be liked. Being a coach means stepping up, being the boss, and having the balls to hold your players accountable, even if it means ruffling a few feathers. And quite frankly, if an exotic bird's going to be disturbed, let the exotic bird fly away. Dorfman has a checklist for real leaders. Great leaders accept responsibility, influence their players, thinking, and stay relentlessly solution-focused. If you're out there blaming the players, the umps, or the wind, or the weather, or playing time, or your teammates, or your parents, or perfect game rankings, or what somebody said on the fucking gram, or whatever else, you're not leading shit. You're just another loudmouth with a title. And leadership and coaching is not a title, it's a process. If you want to influence your guys, start by showing up as the example. Your job is to sit on the sidelines calling out what they should be doing while you're sitting on a bucket. You want their respect? You want their juice? You want them to join us in contagious energy? You want a great culture? Then show them. Own your shit. Be the example. Some players won't change, and that's not on you. The hard truth is some players aren't going to make it. Some will resist change no matter what you do. That's on them, not you. Part of leading is knowing when to cut the cord, knowing which fires to let burn, which ones to put out. You give everything you've got, try every damn thing. But if the player won't budge, you've done your part. Cut bait and move on. Focus on the ones who are ready. Dorfman's clear. You're not there to save everyone. You're there to give every player the opportunity to be their best. If they won't step up, that's their choice. But if they're open to it, even if it takes years, keep the door open. Your job is to give them the chance. It's up to them to walk through it. And we've talked a lot about this before. The best players, they're going to show you where to look, but they're not going to tell you what to see. So here's what we need to do. We can either keep coasting on what we think is working, or we can get real and take a good, hard look at ourselves and ask, how can I better connect with my players? Leadership is adapting, meeting players where they are, and not being afraid to get your hands a little dirty. Dorfman doesn't mince words. Leadership isn't what you think it is. It's what your fucking players see in you. So if you're serious about being a better coach, drop the ego, look in the mirror, and get to work on yourself. That's where the real game begins. Para mis jugadores latinos, más línea, más vida. Hasta la próxima. Recuerdo, si quieres ser un jugador disciplinado, comprometido y preparado en el futuro, empiezas esa mierda hoy. Se necesita lo que se necesita y lo mejor está por venir. Until next time, remember, if you want to be a disciplined, committed, and prepared ball player in the future, you start that shit today. It fucking takes what it takes, and the best is yet to come if you choose.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
A lot of love for all the guys in Kona getting after it today at the Ironman World Championships. And the only place for the Ironman World Championships, Kona, Hawaii. Into the abyss, mine rollers and lung busters, boys.